Alright, good afternoon everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan and today we are back for another chart stream. I think it's named something else today. I think it's Watching Candles Burn. Now, I thought that was absolutely beautiful of a title. Okay, so we might change the thematic title. Let's start a timer. Okay, I'm on a tight ship today. Alright, we're Mr. Professionals. We're professionals today. We're not going to dilly-dally, you know, yibba yabba. Okay, we're going to keep to a tight schedule and provide with no fluff. Okay, so welcome to you all, evening to you all. Hopefully you're all doing brilliantly. Kishan, KB, Mags, I think Mike is here as well. And Maggie as well. Thank you all for being here on the YouTube chat. I'm also on Binance Square. So if you're on Binance Square, say hello. Other than that, again, no dilly dying, like I said. All right, it's been a good while since we did a last stream. I think it's been going pretty well. Unfortunately missed Saturday, unable to go over the weekend. But obviously we, I didn't want to stream yesterday to catch up on Saturday because we're going to do it today. So I thought I'd leave it for a bit, let it play out, and then we can cover it all within today's stream. So again, tight ship. You know, we're going to be cordial and professional and on time today. All right, I'm not going to have it where I'm going to be an hour and 15 minutes over. I'm going to stick to the hour, and we're going to do it. And you guys might not believe me, and you have full right to not believe me, but I'm going to try nonetheless. I'm going to try my best. Okay. Boom. Coin glass. 170 long liquidation. 112 short liquidation. Pretty light today. Pretty good. Moving on. Calendar. What's happening this week? So, Tuesday is the only thing of interest. I mean, there's PPI, Producer Price Index, I suppose, but inflation rate data pretty much as a whole on Tuesday could be interesting, or tomorrow I should say, actually not Tuesday, it's 12th today. Inflation data coming out to tomorrow could be interesting, could play somewhat of a role. Obviously we did have something on Friday which I think came out good. So that obviously we saw a bit of a fluctuation, but again, it's not. Whenever I talk about the economic candle and what's going on in the week, it's not. I never expect some of these things to really completely change how the chart's going to work. This data, we know it's coming out unless something crazy happens, like a war or something. Obviously, that's always going to induce fear or whatever. But we know this data is coming out. Even if it's bad, it doesn't really play that much effect on the long run anyway. So it's just good to point out that it's coming up on Tuesday. If you're going to be trading within the day, that's the main important part. Within the day, it might obviously be something to watch out for. Coin market cap. We are currently at 91.3 for Bitcoin. About 0.7% up on the 24-hour. I had to refresh it then. 3% down 7 day. Again, we're coming into the new week now. I believe. I never actually know. I'm pretty sure does CoinMarketCap have a trailing 7-day, or is it a new week? Because obviously it's Monday, it's a new week open. I don't know if CoinMarketCap. I think it goes off the last 7 days, so I'd imagine it's a trailing 7 days. So anyways, 3% down on the last 7 days. So obviously we've seen this. We've already seen this move upwards. We're kind of tapering off now. We had, as of late anyway, we had basically staying at this high end. We've talked about the range we've been in for a long time. Past stream and the stream before. We've been in the same range for a while now. We're still here. I'm still waiting for this move down. I'm still expecting it anyway. Obviously, we have our longer term, not long term, but longer term expectations of the charts, which we mentioned the last stream. I'll go over again, obviously, this stream, talking about, Bitcoin to 98.99, Ethereum to 3,250. I can't remember which I can't remember. Solana I can't remember the prices. I will read it, actually. I can't remember the prices. They've slipped my mind. I'll obviously read it in a second. But we have higher targets for things across the board. Obviously, a longer term expectation. Obviously, I know some people are quite negative. Some people think we're going to go to 74k, all these sorts of things. Obviously, we'll see it as we go. I want to see how... I want to take it a step at a time. I have my expectations, but all I can talk about, which is not confirmed, obviously, none of this is ever confirmed, obviously, bearing in mind, isn't all not financial advice, and this is all speculation. The thing, the period which is easier to talk about is going to be what's happening right now, rather than what I expect to happen after what happens right now, or in the next coming days and weeks or whatever. How long it's going to take. I have speculations, but obviously we will. It's something which will happen in its own time, and I will talk about in its own time. Ethereum at about 3,100 right now, 1% down 24-hour, 3.8% down 7-day. Again, we had that move upwards from the bottom, from the very lows to the right. We talked about this last stream, from the very lows of the range we've been on for pretty much every coin now, to the top end. So we had that massive move upwards, and in the following process, I think this even happened last stream even, we've been falling down the entire time. So obviously it makes sense that on the last 7 days, the 7-day trailing has finally caught up to, I would imagine it'd be last Monday, or whenever date it was, when we had that move upwards, continuing back downwards throughout the week. Obviously having that, we're coming from the high end. I think when we talked about last stream, it was going to be, or it would have been a Monday. Obviously we had Monday, Thursday stream, missed Saturday, coming into Monday today. So Monday stream, again, talking about, we were at our high ends on pretty much every coin, obviously Solana into its resistance, Bitcoin, Ethereum. One of the main things I was talking about, I remember of anyway, was the fact that we came from very low points to very high points, and that eventually we can see on the 7-day it has finally told us we've trailing down. But again, it's a trailing 7-day. We've already talked about what's happened over the week. It's older news. But again, anyways, Ethereum 3,100. Solana's at 140 right now. Again, we're still at our resistance. 2.5% up 7 day. Again, like we've been talking about, Ethereum and Bitcoin are definitely, or Solana is definitely in a different situation as opposed to Bitcoin and Ethereum. In terms of Bitcoin and Ethereum's had its ranges. It hasn't produced any major lows. We've hit our support on our big gaps. 2,800 on Ethereum, which we talked about when we were at the highs. Bitcoin to whatever price it was, to the exact 86, 80, whatever it was, towards the bottom anyway. We talked about these gaps, obviously, again, while we were at all-time highs, or towards all-time highs as we came down. So we expected these areas. We've been using these areas. These areas have been support. We haven't produced any new lows when it comes to relatively mid-term time ranges, when it comes to daily, whatever it may be. So we were doing pretty well. But with Solana, we have seen a new low in our move downwards. And Solana, again, even on the higher time frames, we were only expecting a lower high. Obviously, Ethereum, we had our higher high. Bitcoin, we had our higher high, all-time highs. Solana, we didn't. And that was an unfortunate thing we were expecting. So again, Solana's in a bit of a different scenario. We're still at our resistances for the high end anyway. We haven't had that trickle downwards, but obviously I can still expect Bitcoin to see that move downwards, Ethereum to see that move downwards for a kind of a daily time frame low before we potentially, hopefully, move upwards towards our local higher targets, and then obviously we can see where we go from there. Other than that, with Solana, we have SERP and Crow I will be talking about today. SERP is at 39.4. We've been talking about it continuously coming upwards throughout this weekly gap, which I've talked about last stream especially, and on lower time frames we have targets towards about 40.5 cent, wherever it is exactly, in the 40 cent range. So we're continuously doing that. We will talk about that in a second. And Crow we have as well, expecting it to come down, still continuously come down. We haven't hit our main target yet, so I can still expect Crow to continue downwards. We've been doing pretty well ever since we hit this area, or hit into this area once more and printed at this around about the midpoint of this gap. We've had a bit of a move upwards, which on lower time frames than the weekly has allowed us to print higher than some local highs and potentially start to move up in a bit of a uptrend, which could allow us to see all things considered, or if all things being equal, a higher low in this scenario we are in right now, and maybe target towards 13 cents. Obviously, again, getting into that in a minute. Let me read the chat before I go to the charts. A quiet Monday today, which is fine. Again, I'm Mr. Professional today. I don't want to be distracted. Okay, you know how I am. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be trying to be on the ball today, and not yap like I always say. Let me read since I read the chat. Binance is best. Yeah, join. Yeah, obviously you've got the QR code at the bottom right. Obviously, if you're not joined Binance, we do have a code. If you want to join through our code, obviously that would be greatly appreciated. Mary's here. Good afternoon to you, Mary. Or good morning. I don't know what time zone you're in. I don't think you're in a time zone where it's the morning, but nonetheless, good evening. Kishan, you need no introduction. You need no extra praise, and I will give you already. Thank you so much for the donation. Really greatly appreciate it, Kishan. The go, as you already know. But if you watch Oracle and VB, there's no discussion. Oracle and Crypto Warehouse always come first. Thank you. That warms my heart. Thank you. I mean, I hope, again, I do this content, we do these streams, and I hope it provides somewhat of value. Again, obviously always saying for these streams that it's not financial advice, I'm not licensed, but hopefully provides somewhat of a value. Whether it be you've already got your own opinions and it's just seeing what someone else is saying, or if you don't know what to think, it clears something up. I do know, though, to be fair, my charts can get very messy, so I don't know how much of that is truth, but we will see. Going on to the charts now, finally. Onto Bitcoin. If this can refresh, let me bring that up. There we go. So, what we were talking about last, I have a lot of stuff on the chart here. I'm going to maybe hide this. This is just the gap we have on the weekly. We already know, we've talked about this, two streams running. I'm going to see if I can hide this, just so we can kind of hopefully clean this a bit more up. But so last stream was Friday. We were still at this area, seeing a bit of resistances here. Came into all some of these areas. We've talked about this in this gap. The main resistances obviously being above 91 and 50. I'm not saying this number's right. 91,050, roughly above this line, is kind of the oh, actually no, this is a move down. Below this line was support. So yeah, okay, now I remember. We came down to the daily or the weekly. Was it the weekly or daily? Where was this area? Here it was. Yeah, it was this equal area. Sorry, I'm absolutely not. I said I was gonna be on the ball. So far, so not good. We had this equal area here, which we talked about previously, coming into this area, kind of as resistance, as a general resistance area, but then reversing it, obviously, as the fact that we were kind of in this range. And as we've looked at with these lines, if I bring I think it was these lines actually, yeah. So we've been in this range for a long time in this equilibrium, which obviously we've talked about. Staying to the low end of it and the top end of it, kind of being in the middle here, finding resistances on the way up and downwards, finding support at the lower end, not expecting to see a new low from anywhere below about 87k, reversing this eventually, obviously in this move upwards we had, basically going into the new year, obviously happy new year for this run upwards, coming up towards about 94k. Here, let me hide that quickly. And then obviously expecting this retracement from this move upwards, which obviously we have seen so far. Now, all things considered, for me to be just very surface level and very binary and just linear with it, saying, okay, as soon as we hit in this area, we should immediately go upwards and we should expect it to go upwards. Although I have been talking about us potentially going down one more time. What I wanted to see was a low within this range, a shorter-term high in where we are right now, a new low, and then coming into support, finding that actual new low. After forming a new low, I'm saying a lot of lows here. Let me kind of draw this out a bit. So coming past this low and printing and finding a new retracement back in towards about 88k, and then finally printing upwards and starting to potentially move upwards. Again, our main target has been so far towards these top ends about 98k. We have daily, we have weekly targets, we have all sorts of targets in this area. And if you remember on the weekly here, which I think I have some things to talk about on the weekly actually, which kind of feed into the potential of us seeing a bit of resistance in this candle. I'm going to hide it actually so we can see. So obviously the weekly print was obviously last week. We've just opened a new candle into coming into the new week. Obviously it's Monday. Us staying, the idea it kind of is, you know, on just being orchestrated on the high time frames. We have, if you look at the 1 hour and the 4 hour, we are kind of moving funny. We have sometimes we're moving upwards and we have an uptrend, then we reverse it, then we don't reverse it. So we're definitely struggling in a bit of a range where we are right now, which obviously we can still see on the 4 hour as well. But the main orchestration of my opinion is really coming from weekly, daily time frame, which realistically is us coming into our main area over here, finding that support and not printing below that low and coming upwards one more time to see a bit higher. Now, obviously, if we look for a retracement, again, this is, I mean, we shouldn't look for a retracement here because this is a weekly trend. So this, it doesn't necessarily orchestrate, oh, we should come to here and come down, because that's not what we're doing. We haven't reversed, so I'm not going to be looking for that. It's kind of just seeing local resistance. Now, I know some, and this is the thing where I have my speculation. Some people think 70 below this low at 74k. I get certain areas, and you know, there's potential for certain things. But I'm hitting my microphone, I do apologise. But from what I have and what I can talk about, and again, we will review this as we do multiple streams, you know, coming into the future. This isn't just something which will happen tomorrow, and I can't talk about it ever again. We can theorise as we continue into weeks and weeks and weeks ahead, or whatever, how long it's going to take. But you know, there's been periods. I mean, we can look back here in certain scenarios. Obviously this was a reversal. We did hit this high and then come downwards. But to be fair, we didn't have a proper retracement from this. So there's reasons for the reason why we didn't come upwards, because we didn't retrace towards this support. But you can see in certain areas, I'm trying to find a good example of this. To be fair, there's periods where even though we haven't quite, you know, in a theory where we've had, if I draw this little pit, where we've come below our equilibrium, we found that new low, and the next kind of idea should be we come upwards again towards new highs and whatnot, and try come upwards one more time. Coming up to how long this is going to take. Obviously, if this does happen, obviously not financial advice, that we found that new low, we should just go right upwards now. But it's not just a straight line, you know, we can't just do a singular weekly candle, boom, right back up to 130k. I can't ignore the fact that we have weekly, daily, 4 hour potential resistance at this 99k area, 98k area, at about, or 98 and a half-ish. Oh no, that's 99 actually. 99, whatever it is exactly. This area here, can't deny that there is resistance there, and it's just the difference between, will it be a delimiting factor in the fact that it will stop us from going upwards and start to move downwards, or it's something which is a temporary local resistance which will surpass eventually and then continue back upwards. Well, I think there's two parts to that. There's number one, the fact that we should be going upwards, or the idea that if we continue this trend, and again, it takes one lower high and a lower low to reverse this, and this won't go up forever. You know, it's one of those things, and I understand that. So it's not flying blind, but it's like, you know, this is continuing to happen. It's only continued to happen, and assuming it will continue to happen, we will see this low and see a new high. If it continues to happen, obviously, if we see a lower high and we see resistance and we continue to go downwards, then obviously it'll change. But from what I have anyway, seeing this local resistance, it shouldn't mean we continue going. We should just stop going upwards and go downwards. But the second thing it means is how we get to this area. And I think if we don't produce much support on the way up, going upwards towards this 99k area, then it's harder for us to stop going downwards when we hit a point to stop. Because again, when I look at any time frame, it's kind of like ping pong or pinball, whatever ball bouncing game there could potentially be in the world, where it's kind of just periods of continue to go upwards and continue to go downwards, and reasons to stop doing that and start doing that. And it's finding, if you have a line upwards, my belief is we will continue to be going upwards until we have reason to stop going upwards. Whether that be a numerous amount of reasons why that might occur or not occur, it will go upwards until it's proven otherwise. And I think obviously that is the case here, where it'll continue to go upwards until proven otherwise. We might see a bit of difficulty, and it'll depend on what time frame run. It'll go up until we get proven otherwise, which I think will be in the 99k area, and then it can depend on how we move up to this area, which obviously is something we have to watch. So I can theorize, but that might not obviously be correct. But obviously, if we do come up to this area at 99k and do form support, and we start to come back downwards, we will go downwards until we find reasons to prove otherwise. We form support, we found an area to stop going downwards, and we continue back upwards. And then from there, it's just hitting those points on the way upwards. But obviously, like I said, it'll get to that point, if we get there. But anyway, that's not the reason I went to the weekly. I've just spent however long I just spent talking about that on something I didn't even want to. I just want to go candle by candle on the weekly just to see if we can have some sort of if we can find some sort of confirmation that we could be going back downwards, not to try and find things which aren't there. Obviously, I know some people have that thing where they see faces in patterns which aren't there, and it's because they're looking for them, they'll find it. I don't know, there's probably an analogy somewhere in the back of my mind which I can use, which appropriates this correctly, but obviously I don't have it right now. So not saying I want to find something, I want to purposely find a reason to stop going downwards, but I think it's, for me, easy to find a reason right here why we could potentially go down on a candle by candle weekly basis, which for me is this. So we have this old weekly high here. So this weekly candle will be obviously an assimilation of all of the week's movement. And for me, this is the fact that we moved past this high here, kind of wick past it, and then came right back down and printed this very small body with this massive wick here. Now, what this means to me is that we have resistance, that it's a call of rejection block, that we should see resistance retrace back up into this wick and then find resistance and come back downwards is the idea. So whether that be the midpoint or somewhere in between. So the idea that it might not be, it has to be 93k and we have to ignore what's on the daily in the 4 hour, we have to go to 93k. That's not what I'm saying, but after we come above this open at 91.5, there should be resistance in here. So we can use this idea that the fact that we're above this price, that we can go to some lower time frames and find resistance in this range above 91.5k, which 91.5k is actually that. Where are we? Oh, this is the high time frame stuff in it. Yeah, let me go to 4 hour. 91.5 is about here. So anything within this area for this wick. Like if I actually draw out the wick to show you the range, so again, it's a very, very lenient range here. It's not supposed to be a pinpoint thing. Is anywhere, above this area, midpoint actually being around about 93.8 or 93.180. Not saying we go to that price at all. I'm not saying we do that. There's plenty of times where it's a scenario where we have a wick, and this might be the midpoint here. Actually, let me do it a bit bigger. So we have a wick and we kind of have a midpoint there, and you have the wick come to here and then continue back downwards. I see it quite often with rejection blocks anyway, from the times I've seen them anyway. So the idea that, okay, we have reason to suspect that on the weekly we could, on a candle basis, into this week's candle, expect to move downwards. Now, whether I'm seeing things or whether I'm schizophrenic and it's just all lies in my head, and I'm trying to find things which aren't there, whatever. But it still stands. I've spent a long time talking about Bitcoin, and it doesn't feel like I've said a lot of words applicable. All I'm trying to get to right now is that I do still think we can see that move downwards towards that 88.8, really closer into the main, towards the mid. I think I've labeled it actually, which actually was, I think, a previous point back here, which is this 88.8, 88.5 area here on Bitcoin. This also leads towards this 88.9 area, this daily gap here, which we have, which is from the move up, the recent low for the start of this move upwards on the daily, below the equilibrium. We don't have anything on the daily. There's nothing here. It's just horrible wicks here all over the place. The one thing we have on the daily is this gap, which we have these two equal lows here and this gap. We haven't really seen down here. We haven't really come into this daily gap yet. So relative to what we have on the daily, obviously on the weekly, even on the 4 hour we have that kind of balanced price range. On the daily, we haven't seen the gap yet. And the fact that we have these equal lows could be very interesting. And we haven't seen any new highs, and we have a lot of resistance on the 4 hour, and we have potential reason to see resistance on the weekly. It still leads to me to the fact that we don't really have a lot of ease of use to get upwards. So even though that the exact rules are we have a low to the high, we come below equilibrium, we find support, and we pump. It's not always like that, is it? There's plenty of times I've drawn these and we spend some time within the range, find that support, and eventually go back upwards. It's just a rule of thumb that It's more so of the idea that it's an uptrend, right? It's just measuring an uptrend. It's really clear what it is. But you know, it's on the tier list of importance in my scale. It's not that high. I draw it all the time just to get the gauge of where the midpoint is, but it's not really so much of a guarantee. Well, not a guarantee, but so much of a. It's more about the actual price action more so than anything else. But anyway, going back to the forward, like I said, so on the daily we haven't come into any area of interest. We haven't really seen a strong move upwards. We've spent multiple candles not really doing much over these 2 days. We've obviously had a bit of a move upwards on this on the weekly open. We came up into this gap on the 4 hour. We have some mitigation blocks here. What time was it? I think on the 1 hour. Oh. Here it is. Yeah, we had a mitigation block over here, which we wicked into very tightly here. We have the whole gap on the 1 hour and the 4 hour, which we've been spending our entire time here right now. We have this this gap here, which we've kind of we haven't printed through anything. Nothing bad's happened. We haven't seen a new high. We're not really sparking much. My camera's gone blue. We're not really sparking much confidence in the idea that we're going to have a massive move upwards or anything. You know, if we go to the 5 minute, we're not really seeing too much confidence here. We have gap. Wick curve up close candles, print through this singular candle, and then kind of print up it or print through it here. Support midpoint kind of came up one more time, failed to get past this high, print lower than this high, print through with this candle here, come back up into it, use this candle as propulsion, draw the whole area. We can see the midpoint of this one is also being used, but obviously this is also a gap as well, so we can technically use this as a gap as well, as the idea that okay, this is resistance as a gap and a propulsion block. Obviously coming back up into it now, so obviously we haven't produced a new low yet, so technically on the 5 minute, this is the 5 minute, this is it's gonna take a long time. Technically, obviously we had a low here, wick past it, didn't printed right back upwards, which is actually quite strong for a move back upwards again. We had this gap here, which we're kind of tickling on, so we could see resistance here. We could come up one more time. I'm not saying we were talking about the 5 minute here. This isn't some groundbreaking thing I've discovered on the daily. This is a 5 minute. This is just a commentary on the 5 minute. It's not really. I don't expect the 5. I'm not going to talk about the 5 minute on this because this is for coming into Thursday time. But on the lower time frame anyway, as of right now, not too much confidence right now that we're seeing a massive move upwards, and we really have big momentum that we're going to go upwards for Bitcoin. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I'm not confirming. It's not a 100% confirmation. Nothing ever is, obviously. That we are going to come downwards, but I do still think we have a lot of resistance above us to suspect we can come down to 88.8. So that's kind of what I'll leave off with. It's kind of an update to look at what we have already done since basically Thursday time, Friday time over here. Basically since over here, I should probably talk about. I think I must have drawn this off. No, didn't I stream? Oh no, I drew it. I'm stupid. Of course, I knew I didn't stream Saturday, but I didn't know why I had everything drawn like I streamed already. But I drew it before the stream. Doesn't matter. So I did actually update it for myself. I didn't talk to you guys obviously because it was Saturday. But obviously updating that, so I should probably update what I talked about within my own head. What I was going to talk about for this, which was basically I was talking about this gap, and we had this order block on the 1 hour. Or you can see it there actually, which comes into these highs, comes up, prints through, marking out the low, which is also actually the open here. But obviously we can see. I'm gonna draw all of this open actually, so we can see it a bit better. It's getting a bit messy now, isn't it? So obviously we had this resistance here, which obviously is actually will be support if we print it through it, which technically we did print through it. So just looking at it there. But of the local scope of this move, we saw a lot of resistance at this gap area, or a lot of difficulty. We didn't really see a massive response or anything, but we saw difficulty. We had obviously this order block here. We did see a bit more move downwards. We then came past all these lows and kind of wicked past it and then moved upwards. Not really sparking much of confidence that we're going to go down again. We did have this massive move up, massive move down. Didn't print past any lows in this move, so it wasn't a necessarily bad move that we were starting to move downwards. It was just a period where we weren't really doing much of strength. Didn't print past any lows in any of this period, which was very good. And then had all these kind of relatively equal lows here, wicked past all of them here, and then just pumped. So pretty strong of a area here. I suppose you could also mark it out as a power of 3. I know some people talk about power of 3s, where you have this kind of range here, and then you have the most extravagant lows, wick, boom, and then you kind of come down from there. But obviously, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, not saying, not trying to see things here, but we could talk about that. But so that was kind of what I was going to talk about on Saturday, which obviously I didn't talk about. Was just really mentioning what we had. I obviously couldn't talk about this because it didn't happen, but I could talk about the idea that we had a bit of resistance that I would expect it to be used. We did use it, but we very ranged here, very ranged. Anyway, I do think we'll come down to it. I'll probably get a bigger price. I should probably get that exact price. It's at least below 89.3. It's probably, I'll just say the midpoint just to be averaged out, just to give it a bit more of a bit more leniency. It's about 89 actually. I should probably say 89 rather than 88 because it's actually not 88. It's 89. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll obviously talk about this coming into Thursday. So hopefully we'll have enough time for this to happen coming into Thursday. So we'll see the results of this hopefully later on in the week. It's towards 8:30 now, so I know I know how I talk a lot. I somehow always spend 30 minutes on Bitcoin, and then I go a lot quicker on everything else. So hopefully that'll still stand now. I do go a bit faster. Okay, I know it's very messy. We'll talk about it. Let's just go to 4 hour. So what do we have? The price I talked about, it was somewhere up here. Here we go. Yeah. So these are some of the higher prices. Yeah. So yeah, it's about 3,750 actually. Yeah. It was 3,750. It was 3 3/4, 3,000 3/4, whatever. Up. We obviously have talked about some of these previous areas. We had this gap here below. We've already talked about this area. Since up here, we were talking about 2,800, which obviously we came down, printing at least above that low here, pretty nicely there. Kind of just really slowed down since we hit support. And that's kind of the main topic, especially between Bitcoin and Ethereum, where it might seem trash TA right now on, or trash price action on right now on Bitcoin and Ethereum, but relatively to what we have on the higher time frame on the weekly, we're doing okay. We've had a massive dump from all-time high. We've hit into these support areas. We've hit a brick wall and stopped. What's the idea? Again, on the concept of we go down until proven of, well, we go down until there's a reason to stop going down, where we then could potentially start to go upwards. Same thing here. Bitcoin hitting towards 86k, whatever the exact price was. We've hit that wall, giving us a reason to stop going downwards. Again, coming from all-time highs now, hitting into this new low. If we've gone down and stopped going down and had a reason to stop going down, would we then not start to go upwards until proven otherwise, which in my theory is 99k. Same thing here. We've hit all-time high. We've started to come downwards until proven otherwise. We've hit into 2,800 for support. Should we now not come upwards? Weekly time frame. Oh, we don't actually know. To be fair, not on the weekly. I just moved that. Oh, I can't control Z it. I had it really nicely on the screen. There we go. Okay. So yeah, actually, not on the weekly. To be fair, we can't see it. We do have this resistance. To be fair, which was a breaker block. We have the order block, obviously coming into this gap. We did use it here, printed through it, and then just a general resistance area. I'm not saying it's an exact, but especially on the daily and the 4 hour, very strong. We have this 3,750 area as a potential area to retrace to. Final resistance, obviously, maybe potentially come down or come upwards. Obviously, depending on what we do, we'll get to it when we get to it. So let's look at the weekly quickly, like we did with Bitcoin. I'll go a lot faster now with Ethereum. I know I'm a drag when it comes to Bitcoin because I speak for so long, but this time, obviously, Ethereum will be different. Say I'm going to talk about the same concept here. Highs, massive wick upwards, tiny body print, drawing out the rejection block again. Something in this area towards this midpoint again, 3,300. Obviously, with Bitcoin's case, the midpoint was around about 90, or it was above 91. I think it was towards about 93, or whatever it was exactly. But same concept here. Going to the day now. We actually see it on the daily as well. We had kind of a gap here. You can see we had kind of 3 equal highs here on this gap. Oh, no. Oh, I've already drawn it out. So we have this gap, printed this here. This is going to be a rejection block for sure. Oh, it is actually a rejection block. Obviously, we haven't come into it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But again, above that, I should probably draw it out, even though it's going to be very messy, just so we can see where it is. So yeah, anything in this range. Again, we've kind of come to this midpoint here, stopping obviously this gap area. We've hit obviously this gap area, which we've kind of used twice now, which we've talked about obviously last stream. So we have a hit resistance there for kind of the weekly thing. Obviously, that was kind of already happening. We've already printed that, a few weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, whatever, how many candles back it was. But it still stands as resistance. So coming from that resistance area on the weekly, we should expect, we formed it, came down, and then spent this, obviously, this weekly candle, and then obviously last week's candle coming up into it, and then we produced this weekly candle and printed down. So, one could argue that we could have the same concept, very small candle body, big wick coming into resistance. We could see the same concept here. So coming up anywhere above that open, 3,140 towards around about the midpoint, we'll see resistance. So again, same concept. We have a area of resistance, or anywhere above relatively where we are right now should realistically be resistance on the weekly, which obviously we can pass to the daily and look at it on the daily here, or 4 hour, whatever. And the concept still stands of we should see resistance in this area. Obviously on the 4 hour, we did talk about, I don't know why I have it drawn from here though. Why do I have it drawn from here? I think, because this was the reversal, because we had this move upwards high. Yeah, I mean, I suppose, whatever. I guess that's the concept. Regardless of if this is, I'm gonna get out of the way, just so we don't have to look at it. So still looking at this area. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about last time. In this candle here. So you can see we kind of came to that midpoint resistance, but we still held. So we had this gap here, resistance, all block. Obviously, we weren't really going to come to this because we had the gap here. I think this must have... What was this? Why is this gap so small? Oh, because it is that small. So we weren't really going to come to this. We weren't supposed to. But obviously, by the time we came to this order block, we just reversed this gap. So obviously, printing through this gap, finding resistance to the order block, came to the gap, used support, came upwards one more time. Came to the 4 hour, I believe, an order block, because again we had this gap here, we had this area here, I believe this was one last breaker block here, which kind of sit on this gap. So we had this high coming up into this area, basically mainly this gap, last up close before this move downwards, coming into a point of sell or point of interest, whatever. This should now be resistance. We can see printing at that midpoint, using an area, stopping at this midpoint roughly, and also, importantly as well, reversing, because again this is a higher time frame resistance. We reversed a pretty strong gap here, and you can see we have we've kind of used this as a good reversal. You can see we've had a high, a low, a high. We haven't printed that low yet, but we've had a very nice reversal. Again, a lot of people say head and shoulders, whatever. A very nice sort of reversal pattern, if you will. So we have reason, and again, the Ethereum's weekly rejection block is a lot earlier than Bitcoin's. Bitcoin's only just formed in this week. Ethereum's has already formed. So we've already had that history of we're in a resistance area on the weekly. We should be more biased towards resistance, or biased towards bearish, I should say. So we've already had that. We've already kind of had that conceptually. So anyway, with Ethereum, we've had this obviously reverse, printed through it here perfectly, used it here with this tiny wick. This is actually going to be a rejection block as well, because massive wick upwards into resistance, massive move right down, tiny body. This will be area as well to focus on if we do come up to this area. We are still using this gap as support. You can see how nicely we are using this area and not really getting much below it. Not saying we could come to even this area and print at it and come upwards, as we're seeing with Bitcoin right now, but we're using this area very nicely. Again, I know we are wicking downwards, but we are printing here. But again, it's more about where we're wicking to be fair. Same thing here, actually. We kind of had we whipped past this low, massive wick here. Let me draw the rectangle on it. I'm drawing, so I'm going to delete some of these rectangles in a minute. But you can see, really nicely here, same concept of rejection block. Obviously, came past these lows here, wick past. Okay, we didn't quite get past this one. Two equal lows, wick past them, came right back up, small body. This is the idea of rejection block, massive wick. We kind of had the same thing here. We actually used it this time for this support. So not only did we have this gap here, which we're kind of using as a printed support, we're printing at support here, we also wicked down to that midpoint there and used the support quite nicely, which was cool. Obviously on the lower time frames, we can see it with a bit more reason. We had a bounce price range here, which we can see. What else did we have of reason? Well, we had all these highs we printed past, so we should see a higher low in a reversal. We then saw that higher low and came upwards. So we've kind of reversed from these highs anyway. We've had this massive move downwards. We had a massive move down. Obviously the idea, we should reverse. Again, this move is higher time frame point of interest. So the concept being, we have reasons. We moved down till proven otherwise. This whole move down. What are the two proven otherwise things? Well, it's either going to be this gap or those equal lows. Obviously, we walk past those lows. I know this is hindsight. You might think this is hindsight, but I'm just commentating over what we've done since basically today actually. This is within 3 p.m. today, in my time anyway. So obviously we whipped past that area, point of interest, reason to prove, or reason to stop going down. Then printing past this gap, used it, came upwards, finally printing past majority of these highs, finding that high, and then we've come down for that retracement in this area. So we're kind of seeing on the 5 minute anyway, a bit of support. You know, we've actually found a bit of a period where we reversed a bit of support here, where we could start to potentially want to come upwards anyway. But again, that's the 5 minute. Like I said on Bitcoin, I'm not really going to pay too much attention to the 5 minute, but rejection block nonetheless. Either way, even if we do start to come upwards, which we could continue on the 5 minute, I'm getting a pop-up for Metalink, so my computer's lagging. But if we do continue what we're doing on the 5 minute and start to pass this on, we don't really have much on the 1 hour in the way of here. We do have this previous gap, but then we have this rejection block. You know, so coming up towards that area, 3,100. If we do start to come upwards even more on this candle, I do suspect there's multiple reasons why this is the resistance. We have previous gap area here. We have actual rejection block, which is resistance right now. We have this gap here we've already used once here, around about the midpoint there. We've already used this. I know this is a mess on the screen. We have multitude of resistances within the 1 hour, I would say, there. Even on the 4 hour, though, do we have much here? Well, not particularly. Again, the 4 hour, as of late with Bitcoin even as well, there's so many wicks, not really too much formulaic movement. I mean, especially if we zoom out, we can see it a bit better, but if we really zoom in, you can't really see too much. Well, we have to go to the 1 hour if we want to look a bit closer. But all those words I've just said to continue the same reasoning I have with Bitcoin, where we have we have quite a big stack of reasons to think we could continue downwards. Again, weekly resistance, daily. I mean, not so much on the daily, to be fair. We do have this small gap here, which obviously we've used previously. Actually, we used here in this candle on the daily. We have this previous gap we've reversed. I had this high, obviously we've used there. But again, upon printing through it in this daily candle, we've come back upwards. We've actually used it there as well, technically. So another fuel to the flames, if you will. But we've had a lot of reasons so far to suspect which we're not going to see too much of a stronger move upwards, and maybe consider us continuing back downwards. As parroting what we talked about on last stream, it being we have a bigger retracement into some of these main areas, especially on the daily, really into about 3,000 to fill what we have below us. I don't know what's yellow. Okay, this yellow is just this. Same we have a Bitcoin here. Same we have a Bitcoin where we have that balance price range. We have this on Ethereum, about $3,000. But with Ethereum's case, actually, on the daily, the gap doesn't overlap with the 4 hour. The gap's actually quite high, which we've already been hitting into, which we've done with Bitcoin. Again, think what we did with Bitcoin and we did with the equal range. We came into that support. Same thing with Ethereum, in the sense that we had a support and we kind of wicked into it. But on both coins, we still have that concept that we could maybe continue back downwards. So coming towards maybe $3,000 for that lower move. But again, I still think I stand by my longer term expectation that we could see a slower move, or slower move. It might not have to be a slower move, it could be a fast move, but a normal move up towards a local ranged high, if you will, if that's the right terminology, towards about 3,750. Obviously, Bitcoin's case, 99k. Solana's case, segueing into Solana, actually 175-ish, maybe. Again, the charts for Bitcoin or Ethereum and Solana in terms of its highs look very similar. We have a longer term resistance, which is actually a breaker block. We have the same thing here. We have a breaker block here and a gap. We have a breaker block here and a gap. So we have very similar concepts here of what we could be doing for Ethereum and Solana. Very, very similar concepts. Bitcoin's case, we don't really have a breaker block. I mean, maybe we can consider this. Actually, no, we do. It's a bit higher, to be fair. This is actually a breaker block, which is why I marked out the low. It's not overlapped, it's just the low of it instead of the midpoint. But we have the same concept here. We have that gap area about 99k. We have that resistance there about 99k as well. So it's very similar concepts. Again, Solana's case is a bit different to others. We've been in these high ranges, still kind of sitting on this move up as we've had so far. You know, expecting a retracement towards some of these areas. We're still in this longer term resistance. This is a weekly. Again, weekly. It's not going to. Is it not weekly? Where is this daily? Oh, daily. Never mind. Hard. Again, on the daily, we're still sitting in this range. We've used it multiple times before. Coming into it now again, and I will still expect it to be used. We had a move up to a high here. We had a low. We had a 4 hour support here, which was very, very strong, or quite a good buy area. Came up one more time. We've whipped past this high, and we haven't printed. Not saying we won't print, but we haven't printed. You can see we've wicked twice. We've come past this high. We haven't printed. We're definitely slowing down again, which makes sense. We are at a daily resistance point. We've slowed down. I'll show you that support, actually, a very strong area here. We had this nice move upwards, massive wick here. I don't know what this was. Wednesday at 9. I don't know what this is. A very suspect move. 6% within 4 hours. This is very suspect. Regardless, we came upwards. Good gap here. This is obviously forming this daily gap here. I believe it's a daily gap. Forming this gap here, came to fill it pretty much exactly with this one down close candle. Massive pump right above it. Perfect, textbook support with this candle here. Obviously producing gap on the way upwards with this move upwards. Again, we are trending upwards. We are expanding higher than we are retracing. So combining both of those, bit more confidence. We can see we use this pretty nicely here at about $133. Continuing upwards again, good support there. Even though we're kind of slowing down a bit here, still holding strong at a support point. Again, this is a area which has come into an area of support. So these last down close for this move upwards should also continue to be a area of somewhat support. So we can see this is a propulsion block. So even though these candles didn't come into that support, the move down came into a order block point of support. So the idea that should be that will also be support passing on the way upwards. And again, this will continue to be proven otherwise. So I'm not expecting this. Now I'm saying this. I'm not expecting this that we come down to this area, because again, this trumps it. This is daily resistance. This will trump anything we have here on the 4 hour. That's all I'll say. I'm just going to do this on the 4 hour just to look at what we've done over the day. I still, as I had with Bitcoin and Ethereum, expect us to come towards these areas. I just want to kind of review what we've done over the last couple of days. So regardless, this move coming into an order block can be produced all the way up. We can probably find all this area. We could probably find multiple examples of this same formation. It doesn't mean we'll go up forever. Do you know what I mean? So it's always confluence. It's also context as to what time frame you're on. So again, applying that to the same ideology here, we formed it, we used it quite nice, decently nicely here. Came upwards, a good expansion away from it, but we've come into a daily resistance. We've wicked past the daily high, which was back probably this day high actually. We haven't printed. We've wicked twice up into this area. On the 4 hour, we haven't printed at any point above this. Not saying we can't. We haven't done it in any regard. In terms of the expansion upwards on the 4 hour, not too much of a strong move. There's no previous gaps back here, which really really give me too much confidence. We have this drawn. This might be the 1 hour actually. Yeah, we do have this bounced gap area here, to be fair, which you can kind of see. We did print through it technically. I won't lie. We did use the resistance quite well here. Came upwards, printed. Did technically print through it actually. Again, it's been quite a while since we reprinted it. Regardless, sitting in this area for quite some time now. But other than that, on the high time frame on the 4 hour, we haven't really printed much. We could probably find some on the 1 hour, but 4 hour we haven't done much. Daily, there's not much either. Apart from that gap, we're still expecting this retracement again. I would still expect this retracement, even though we've printed a new low. I do expect us to see a retracement towards the area. I would be surprised if we didn't find somewhat support at 128. Same concept as we have with Bitcoin, where I don't think 99k is going to be our long-term, or it could not necessarily mean be our long-term resistance for Bitcoin in terms of the long run. It's still an area to watch out for. Same concept here. $130-ish for Solana. Might not be, if we're following this kind of concept where we've been in a massive downtrend, we've stopped. I mean, let's look at the weekly, to be fair. I mean, the weekly, to be fair, we've had a low, a high, and then we've had this recent low, technically printing through with this candle, not too strong. So this might be, and also we have a weekly resistance there, and as we've already talked about, we've expected this to be a retracement. So maybe this, as we've, because again, we trend downwards, we trend upwards, we trend downwards. We might have another low here before we continue back downwards. But we've already, if we really follow it through, we've printed through this. You know what I mean? Like we've had even though this is a general move, this should be a general move from a high to a low to a high to a low. We have these intermediary moves here, which have a low. Do you know what I mean? So if we print this and we produce lower, and this is the thing, this has always been the difference with Solana. This has always been the difference. Ethereum and Bitcoin have both had stronger general weekly time frame trends, if you will. Bitcoin's been in an uptrend since the longest time. Well, not the longest time, but a long time. Ethereum, same concept. Solana's case, we drew this. Obviously, we drew this way back when. This concept of the high to a low, retracing for a lower high, continuing back downwards. So it's the same idea here. Obviously, within a few, within about $20, whatever it was. Same concept though. It's had that difference from Ethereum and Bitcoin to Solana. Isn't the same story. So it's a bit more concerning in that regard. But we are at this week. It's actually not even a gap. It's actually an order block. We are at that midpoint. So in terms of the weekly, if we just look at the trend, I could expect this to have that. If we've had this move upwards to move downwards, where would this retracement lead us? It actually leads us a bit higher towards 185. So hey, maybe we could wick up towards 185. I do definitely think that 180, 175 will be that main resistance area, I think, for Solana. But could this... I think that the stories between Bitcoin could potentially go upwards, Ethereum and Solana, I think are kind of generalized. I think they can all do it. I just think the outcomes between Solana and Ethereum and Bitcoin might be a bit different. But in terms of the last thing I'll look at on Solana is the validity of us going downwards. Again, Bitcoin's at its high points, weekly resistance. Ethereum's at high points, potential weekly resistance as well. Solana is at this main daily resistance, which we've seen multiple times over and seen us reject from this area multiple times over as well. So I could expect this to have a bit of resistance. I think for me, the difference between this low, like I was saying, was even though we've seen this low, it might not necessarily mean we do go down from 144, is because the fact that we've seen we've seen this weekly support, and this whole move has led into a 125 print support rather than this whole range at the daily. We've had this little range, we've printed lower. The expectation for this range should be we've printed lower, we see a lower high, and then we come downwards. But as we've seen with the weekly, this is a major weekly support. So realistically on the weekly, we should expect to see that lower high, which would look a lot more positive on the daily time frame as we go down contextually go down on the time frames. But again, that's a topic for another stream. Probably maybe Thursday stream or next week's stream, as we continue to see what we do. But to leave off with Solana, look at Syrup and Crow. I mean, I don't look at Crow for too long. Syrup will be quite quick as well, so I reckon we'll finish on time. I need to read the chat, actually. I'll read the chat in a second. I haven't read the chat yet. So leaving off with Solana, like I said, I think we've got plentiful reason right now to suspect we could go downwards again. I think we've got decent reason. We do have some supports on the 4-hour here, but again on the daily, major resistance. Not much on in terms of the support on the daily here. I think the only thing I would look at would be the gap here. You can see we've printed very nicely here as well on this gap, which obviously overlaps with this 4-hour portion block. But other than that, we don't have strong support on the daily. It's just a line upwards. It's very, very open, very, very open move up until we hit towards $130 towards its support. And again, if we have a bit of a retracement from a daily resistance, I could expect to see 130. And again, we've just come from weekly support, and the weekly could expect that weekly to see. I mean, even though on Solana it might not be a gap and it might not be in an uptrend on the weekly, it's the same concept where Bitcoin and Ethereum at its gaps as support, Solana's at its gap at the order block. We've hit these areas and we've kind of stopped a bit. You can see the slowdown, so clearly here. We've seen this massive move down, big candles, and then we hit into the support, and then we don't move. We have big wicks up and down. We're kind of ranging. We don't have any prints. We just touched the midpoint here, and now we're starting to have some consecutive up close candles on the weekly. Again, suspecting that this isn't a move which allows us to go to $300, within the next 2 months, but could be a sign that we've slowed down a bit in this down move, and that we're suspecting a bit of retracement towards, like I said, $180, $175 towards some of these areas. So I think even if some coins might not be in the exact same scenarios, I do think we can see similarity. Some rhyming with each other, if you will, whatever. I need to read the chat though, because I haven't done that the entire stream. I'm a horrible streamer, I know. Let's see. Let's go to stop. Here we go. Danny's here. afternoon. Obviously, I think I already said good afternoon to Mary as well. We'll see. Thank you guys for joining. Max, you're going to talk like a madman and give us all the super shot information, all we need. Speed fasting. I know. I want to end on this 1 hour. I need to get to. But I think I think Einstein spoke like a madman. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's all the thoughts at the same time. It's trying to get them out. You know what I mean? Yesterday I sent USDC to my daughter's exchange. I should wait until Oracle tells you where to buy Bitcoin. She just said to me. Well, soon. Not now. Soon. I mean, not financial advice. Again, I've been wrong. I can be wrong. I can continue to be wrong. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. Looking on. I don't see much on Square, which is fine. It's a quite a stream today. In terms of when to buy Bitcoin, we'll see. I think Thursday we'll see a bit more of a progress. Hopefully, we'll see how we get on. I think. I don't think we're there just yet. I think we can 89k. Lot shorter term buy, potentially not financial advice. Not financial advice. Anyway, going to syrup now. How long do we have? We've got 6.5 minutes. Doing well. I'm not going to attempt anything, but we're doing well. So, we've talked about this gap. I think the majority of people here, I think we've seen most of the weekly anyway. And most of you guys who are already in this stream have seen what I've talked about. But I'll obviously talk about it again. We've obviously looked at the idea that we've had this weekly gap. We're coming into it up into these areas, but to enhance it a bit more on the daily, we've had this whole down move, really strong down move. Prints is a new low. It's basically pretty cut and dry in terms of print that new low, expecting that retracement. Anywhere above 0.5, where's the strongest area? It's probably going to be around about in this 40.5, 41 cent area. We do have quite a bit of resistance there, I should expect. And this is also a weekly resistance. So not greatly positive on syrup. And again, when I talk about syrup and I think about what I've talked about with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, it's kind of a thing where it's like, well, why is this not moving? What I think with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, and what I think with syrup can start to mean two different things, but we've moved so differently in the past with syrup, opposed to the market that I think when it comes outside of the main coins, I think some coins are just in their own lanes. They're doing their own thing. I think syrup, Crow, they're doing their own things. Same thing here in terms of we can have a bit of difficulty. We've had it's been very clean in terms of this move. You can see, even if you look at the daily, we don't have that much wick. We were not range bound. We're not having too much difficulty. We've had a very good period where we've been in this downtrend. We've had massive move downwards, slower moves upwards, hitting to a resistance area, massive move downwards, slower move upwards, hitting to a resistance area, massive move downwards, yada, yada, yada. So I still stand by that. So what we're doing right now, what was I doing here? What am I doing? Oh, what is this? Okay, so this is a 4-hour gap, I suppose, which we're seeing we haven't printed above. Yeah, I mean, we're not doing bad. We haven't printed past this high. We have all these highs, which we did wick past, but then we actually printed past, so that's okay. So we finally printed past this. So in terms of this, we've seen a retracement there. So looking at this range here, what do we see in this kind of move we've had so far? We also have eventually reversed this. This isn't a singular gap. This is been the balance range we've seen multiple times over, up and down. So we've kind of printed above this. You can see we printed above it here. We kind of came back down into this area. More so looking at this actual price action back here. Obviously, we can see what can we see here. Well, if we look down, what do we see? We see lows. We wick past it in the actual down move, and then we print past the whole thing here. So looking at potentially some sort of support in this area. I'm going to do the last down close before the up close. Looking at basically this candle here. There we go. You can see we came to that midpoint quite nicely. Obviously, we had some gaps here, whatever. So we see we actually had a deep retracement. I probably would have looked at this gap more so than anything else, but we did have a deep retracement into a support point, whatever, and then continue back upwards. Mainly looking at these obviously candles for portion on the way upwards, coming back down into these areas on the way upwards. Whatever, we have some support on the way upwards, or as we've moved on the way upwards, we've formed support. On the 4 hour, it's kind of slowed down a bit here. Again, we are getting very close to that 41-ish cent area. We're getting quite close to potential long-term resistance. So I do think soon we could see that start to trek back downwards, whether it be similar to what we see across the board, where we could see one more move downwards and see a bit more of a difficulty on the way downwards. We do have some at 35 cent for SERP, but I think SERP and everything else they're in their own lanes with SERP, and obviously Crow as well. So I don't really think we'll see too much difficulty there. I've got 2.5 minutes. I'm gonna move it on a bit. So yeah, I'm not really talking too much, leaving it off. 40.5, 41, and we're getting very close to our long-term resistance. I think anywhere, if you're leniently trading SERP, not far advanced and slightest, I can get things wrong. This is more of a if you're leniently shorting or longing, somewhere in this area could be a good target. Targeting towards quite a low. Again, weekly major resistance. We've been in this downtrend for a long time. Printed a new low. Haven't printed that new high. If our new high is about 41 cents, and we do this low again into this gap, into this breaker block here, 21-ish cents, then we could see us come back upwards again, depending on how we do on the way downwards. We are in major resistance. I do think we are going to come down in the SERP. That's what I'll leave off with. And I think we're in the area. Crow. Let's see. So we've talked about it coming downwards. I can't remember what I also talked about. I think I remember talking about, we had this support, midpoint, pump upwards, slow retrace. We're just continuing to do that. We're slowing down, I will say that, but we are continuing. We had a little gap here, which we can see we're kind of holding still. But, again, anything below 0.5 is appropriate. And technically this is a gap. And technically, all these technicallys, this is a valid area. So we haven't printed through it. We technically haven't printed through it. This could be support, but we are finally anywhere below 10 cent in a range where we should be seeing somewhat of support. This is a bigger gap, stronger. We have this area here again, last down close, coming down past some equal lows here, pumping upwards. This could definitely be a form of support at about about 9.5 cents. So we have that there. Let me go to the 4 hour quickly. On the 4 hour, we don't really have much here. It's really just these major gaps here. Realistically, really these major gaps at, again, about 9.5 cents. So do I want it to come lower? Well, on the 4 hour, I think the daily looks like it's slowing down. I think it's easier to look at the 4 hour there. We haven't reversed. We haven't printed past any highs. We've actually printed past some of these more recent lows. These equal lows here, we've printed past major low. We've got some equal lows here, but we haven't done any new highs. It looks like we could be targeting to continue back downwards to these equal lows. If we print past this, we're continuing downwards, and that's about 9.8 cents. So by that time, we're probably targeting the next leg down, which is going to be within this 9.5, 9.6, 9.7 cent low target for Crow. But from there, I've already talked about my targets. Across the board, we have these up targets. It's going to be about 13 cent. It's going to be these this order block here. We also have this order block and a gap, which gap formed from an order block. So we could draw the upper end of this gap of this order block at about 13 cents. I think is going to be a very good target for Crow for a short term. Do I think this move is the start of a move which brings us all the way back up to 40 cents? It's hard to tell. I don't think so personally. This was a result of this whole move was external. This wasn't the chart, I don't think personally. Even though on the weekly, this was a valid move based on, I think, the most recent high to low. I think it was there. Was it here? I can't remember. I think I drew from here to here. Maybe I'm being picky. I don't know. Because we had this move down, move upwards. We had a recovery and then a move downwards again. So drawing from that recent high, I think it was this high. Here it is. And obviously these basically this low, slow move back upwards. Finally getting to on the monthly. This is a massive gap. I'm pretty sure we got into this area about 40 cents. Came down. This was valid. Not saying we're gonna come below 4 cent, but Crow, it's a hard sell. It's a hard thing to sell right now. Well, it's actually it's not. I mean, no, technically we could go higher to sell. So in terms of the physical sell, yes, but in terms of actually getting someone to buy it, it's a hard sell. Anyway, I'm only 2 minutes over. I need to read the chat. But that's majority of what I have. Nice Lancer Bully, thank you. I stay quiet and as I still believe 95k before more downside. So you think more? I mean, yeah, like I said, the leniency of the range. We have this. I mean, actually, no, it doesn't actually go towards 95k for me, but maybe. I mean, we'll see. Again, we'll see. It's only an opinion. So is it more of a target here? I mean, yeah, like I said, that's the thing. You know, just based on a high to a low, to find a new high, a low to a high, definitely. Yeah, we'll see. I'll update it on Thursday. I'll see how it goes on Thursday. But obviously, thank you nonetheless. And that will be it for me. What I'm gonna try to do, actually, I'm gonna do some experimental TA off screen as well. So you might see some new stuff on the charts on Thursday. I'm not promising that, but we'll see. Other than that, thank you, each and every one of you, for joining. Appreciate all of you for joining the stream and watching and spending your time with me on the stream. Thank you so much. I will see you guys. I think we might do something Wednesday. I don't know if we're doing a quiz. We might be doing it. We might be trying to expand to some new platforms as well for the quiz. So that might incur an update for the quiz, which is a thing which is probably long overdue. I'm already working on another project, which is nearly finished. So once that's done, working on the quiz, we might try to expand over to, I don't want to mention the platform because it might not be allowed on Binance Square, but maybe towards Twitch. And incurring that, we want to kind of update the UI, make it. If you've ever watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I want to have a bit more of a UI to it. You know what I mean? I want to have a bit more of a theme than what it is right now. So, in the future, you might, or near future, again, it's the most of the bones of the project's already built out. So hopefully, the next week or two, when we do the next Wednesday streams, you might see some updates to the quiz, which would be very nice. On X, we could do X as well. We've been thinking of different places. X is very particular when it comes to. I know I'm done. Don't worry, I'm done. I'm just talking. In terms of X is very particular as how they allow you to read, and basically because they banned all bots. Basically, Twitch is very lenient. Or very lenient. YouTube very lenient. Twitch is quite stringent, I think, or stringent. Strict, I'll say. I don't know. I'm trying to make new words up. Strict. X is quite strict when it comes to reading chat. So we could try X if people want X. Best case scenario, we just do every platform ever, and we just have everybody across the world. I would love to do Binance Square, and I can do Binance Square, but the method I would have to go through to do Binance Square, I don't know if is legally, not legally in terms of the police will want me, legally in terms of Binance's terms of service. I'll ask the insiders. So maybe people on Binance Square, we might try get people on Binance Square to be able to play the quiz. That might be a bigger update, actually, because we were talking about Twitch. We might, you know what, I'm changing my mind. I might try do Square, because that would be big, because tons of people play the quiz, and they can't play it. But it means if you guys on YouTube, you've got more competition there. So, we'll see. Other than that, though, I'm obviously finished. It's been past 9. Obviously, need to end the stream. I've kept you guys long enough. Thank you, all of you, for being in the stream. Appreciate you all. See you guys maybe Thursday. Or will be Thursday, maybe Wednesday. I just choked on my own saliva. God, I need to end the stream. I'm making a mess. Thank you. See you guys Thursday. Maybe see you Wednesday. I don't know what we have planned on Wednesday. Thank you. Telegram, see you there. If you're on Square and you're not on Telegram, join it. Thank you. Goodbye.